Welcome to the Stripped Podcast. This is your host, Allison Lassard. Let's get into it. A lot of men confuse emotional intensity, what I like to call emotional diarrhea, with emotional intimacy. And you're not being deep in that case. You're literally emotionally dumping and like trying to outsource your regulation. So a lot of men are stuck in this in-between space of what we call like emotional codependency and deep intimacy. They're definitely confused, and the women that they want are either pulling away or they're not coming at all. So literally and coming towards you or coming, period. So let's dive in. All right, I want to start by giving you a little bit of an avatar of the type of men that contact me. And lately, it's like almost 95% men that are calling me, specifically about emotional intimacy, which is interesting. So, most of the men that I work with are attracting women who are emotionally unavailable. And the type of women that they tend to attract are like kind of frigid or very much operating from the neck up, like they're sort of like in their masculine intellectual or analytical overdrive. They're not very in touch with their body, with their emotion, with their intuition. They're not in touch with their sensuality. A lot of these women have a lot of struggles with their sexual energy or like sexual blocks. And I'm talking from ages like 30s up until 50s. Obviously, there's different things going on there. And this is no attack on women whatsoever. Like I work with women too. I'm making this video for men because you're the ones that are DMing me, literally. So, and you guys DM me about the emotional piece because you're looking for the type of woman who can be really direct and honest and true vulnerability, which is like a transparency that's also interwoven with an integrity. You know, it's not just dumping for the sake of connection in almost like a trauma bondy kind of way. You want a woman who can like speak her heart and be direct, but also can like hold space for your truth and not totally collapse if you're going through your own emotional storms. Okay, so I made notes just because I want to really stay concise here. Um, let's start with number one. So, as I said, most of them, before we get there, most of the men that call me, that's the type of woman that they're attracting. And these guys struggle with people pleasing, bending over backwards, trying to like mold themselves to the version of a man that this woman wants, and then feeling extremely resentful. These men are not getting their needs met emotionally or sexually. And most of these guys have major issues around power, and they're very afraid of their anger and or they're like darker masculine, that kind of primal sexual energy. And again, there's a lot of reasons why. There's conditioning. You know, we're taught that anger is harmful and destructive, or that like sex, it can also be expressed in a way that's like harmful to women if it comes with that darker flavor. But that's not necessarily true at all. It matters your intention. Um, it matters that you understand how you're utilizing your energy, but real polarity, especially sexual polarity in a relationship with a man and a woman. And I also work with same sex couples, by the way. So this kind of goes for everyone. But today I'm talking to men who date women. These men that call me that are struggling with intimacy are lacking the darker masculine flavor. Okay. And that's because they're afraid of their power. They're afraid that if they say the thing that they really need to say and they have a backbone, and you can do this in a very loving way, you can do this in a very compassionate way. But if you lack backbone, then you turn women away. Like you're literally repelling a woman because she can feel that you lack the backbone and she doesn't feel safe to open to you and to like be held by you. She's going to feel like she's having to carry the emotional burden. And if a woman can push you over, she's not going to respect you. Okay. She's going to either friend zone you or stop having sex with you or both. Bing, bing, bing. That's like the whole podcast. No, it's not. Okay, let's go deeper. So, this is where I help men come into their power in a way that's also very loving. but it integrates the shadow piece that you're missing, which, like I said, is that darker masculine energy. It's very primal, it's untamed, but you can. When I say untamed, I don't mean harmful. When I say untamed, I don't mean irresponsible. I mean, there's a liberation that happens when you integrate your shadow, but it cannot happen if you try to bypass the shadow piece. It won't. So that's why you're lacking the polarity and the magnetism. So, number one, if you're a man like this, being emotional is not your problem. It's not about being emotional or overly emotional, it's that you're not containing it. It's uncontained. It's like a tornado of feelings coming towards your woman, and it's very destabilizing. A woman wants to feel your depth. In fact, depth is an incredible turn on, and I'm speaking from experience. I have never not been with a deep man. Every man that I've ever dated and been serious about is a deep man. However, where the work comes in, and this was also my responsibility on the other side of things, to be able to hold my own depth without making my man or whomever I was seeing at the time responsible for my feelings and for my state of being. Your partner is not responsible for your happiness. That doesn't mean that they won't contribute to it, but they're not responsible ultimately. So there's this level of accountability that has to happen first and foremost. So women want to feel your depth, but they don't want to start feeling responsible for stabilizing you. That's where the polarity is going to die. And if she feels like your therapist, like your emotional dumping ground, she's going to resent you. She's not going to trust you. She's going to start to shut down. This is number one. Being emotional isn't the problem, being uncontained is probably the issue. Number two, most men don't need to be more quote unquote vulnerable. They need to be more personally responsible for their end of things. Because a lot of you mistake vulnerability for oversharing, for emotionally dumping, for trying to bond with a person over your pain, over your unprocessed feelings. And it's like you're trying to like constantly co-regulate with someone else and get them to process it with you and like forming the bond through that. That can get extremely messy. Okay. And that's more like emotional codependency, actually. And some of you guys that are contacting me are relationship addicts. And I love you all so much, but you never are by yourself. You're always emotionally in contact with a woman, whether it be a friend, whether it be a colleague, it doesn't matter. Like she may not be the woman that you're dating, but many of you have not learned how to sit down for several months by yourself and actually emotionally feel what you're feeling and learn how to ground yourself and recenter yourself without doing it with another person. And I'm not saying that it's that if it is what it is. Is that working out for you? Are you attracting the type of women that you want to date? Or are you constantly in a friend zone with women? That's your safe space. That's where you can like get some connection, but not actually have to be like fully responsible with a woman who would essentially like call you out. Not call you out in a demanding mommy way. It her energy, like when because I know this from my experience and also on the other side of things, like in being in relationship, not necessarily even romantically, but just like with let's say it's like a mentor or something. Like my spiritual teacher. Let me use that so we don't get romance mixed into it because romance there's different stakes. When I'm with in the presence of my spiritual teacher, he is so embodied and so in touch with both his like empowered sort of dark masculine side and also his like more feminine and more emotional side. His energy is such a mirror that if I started to slip into like a victim mode or sort of an irresponsibility around my own process, his energy alone would be confronting and it would force me to feel into what I was trying to avoid or deflect or project. I hope that makes sense. So a person in their power will naturally call you up into more responsibility, but if you're not ready for that and you're resisting it, then they're going to trigger the fuck out of you. And that's where you might start to create drama and try to hook them into your unprocessed anger and your unprocessed frustration and things like that. You're stirring the pot because you're uncomfortable and you don't know how yet to sit down without numbing out, without using alcohol, sex, another woman of any sort. Like, I don't care if she's DMing you on TikTok. I don't care if she's a friend of 10 years. Cut all the women out. It's an addiction. Seriously. If you don't know how to sit down and feel your feelings and move through them in a healthy way without using a numbing agent like alcohol, drugs, porn, sex, sugar, money, social media, or any other distraction, that's where your work begins in intimacy. This is where I can help you. You guys, if you didn't apply for the membership, the underground, you've got like 10 minutes to do it. Like we're literally starting on July 2nd. So the first is the last day to enroll. You've already missed the application process, but if this is you, I truly want to support you, but you have to have a practice where you do this type of work on your own. That's why the group is self-led, but I will be in there guiding, supporting, giving you a monthly practice and a monthly workshop where we're going to do shadow work. And I do spicy shadow work. We're going to get into the shadow because like I said, you can't access this level of emotional intimacy with somebody if you bypass your shadow stuff. You cannot. It won't happen. Okay. So every single month, we're going to do some form of like playful or integrative shadow work in addition to a monthly practice. And every meditation is going to be a Buddhist practice of some sort, and we'll kind of rotate depending on the theme. So for July, the theme is love. The theme is literally called Love Actually. And it's like all the ways that you're blocking love, but you don't even realize how you're doing it. So, number two, oh no, we're on number two, I think. So, you don't necessarily need to be more vulnerable. You need to be more responsible. And so, this is not about necessarily having to feel more, because a lot of you guys that call me are very emotional and you are very in touch with your feelings. And if you're not, well, then that's where you start. You start, sorry, feel an itch on my back that needs to be scratched. Excuse. Maybe that's part of your process is to actually feel things and not use a way of escapism, or avoidance. Like I said, is it drugs and alcohol? Is it other women? I don't know what your, vice of choice is to get out of your body and numb out, but whatever it is, that might be your first step. If you don't have trouble accessing your emotions, but you have trouble controlling them or processing them by yourself, well, then that's the work. It's about being able to hold what you feel also somatically without blaming the other person, without blaming your partner, without collapsing in overwhelm, and without trying to constantly outsource your regulation. Like you need to process it with me. You need to sit with me. You need to do this. You guys need to learn how to process this stuff by yourself too. Number two, vulnerability without responsibility actually becomes like a covert form of manipulation and control. Because what you're really saying is like, I'll share with you, but in turn, I expect you to fix me, validate me, soothe me, mommy me. You just want to hook on to our tit. That's not always a problem, but it becomes problematic when you're subconsciously placing your female partner in a mother role that she doesn't want to be in. And again, there's two sides to every story. And the women that do this tend to also feel like they will be rejected or abandoned if they don't get into that mommy role. So we co-create these things. Women are not off the hook. I'm just addressing men in this one because you guys are the ones that are messaging me. So unless you have a mommy kink, and I'm not kink shaming, if that works for you, live your best life. But those of you that are calling me actually don't want to be dating your mothers, but a lot of you are. And that's only because you've unconsciously connected with these women because a cold or emotionally unavailable woman or an angry woman or a controlling woman, that's what feels familiar to you, to your nervous system, to your subconscious. That feels like home to you. That's why you're attracted to it, even though at some point you're going to become bitter and resentful and frustrated or repulsed by it. And that's okay. Like we all go through this in some form. We date our parents until we don't. So just because you're opening up with someone doesn't mean that that's like real intimacy. It might just be control disguised as like oversharing. You know what I mean? Okay, number three. Let me just check the time. You do not need to be perfectly healed. There's no such thing, by the way. Perfectly healed to be in like a conscious relationship with an emotionally available person. But you do need to become more self-aware. So, like I said, real intimacy begins with ownership, not projecting your unprocessed shit, not trying to displace it on the other person, not turning away from your feelings and then trying to create drama instead of actually having to sit with your shit. This, you guys, would solve probably 98% of people's intimacy problems. I swear to God. I've been doing this work with people for like 12 plus years. And I'm telling you, it's not that complicated. It's not. We complicate it. It's not. But you can absolutely be in process. I think we're all like a work in progress. We're all artworks in progress, but you have to stop handing someone your emotional mess and expecting them to clean it up for you and then getting pissed off when they don't want to. Okay. That's not love. Number four, I kind of said this in the beginning. Let us not confuse emotional depth with emotional dumping. Okay. Your partner is not your toilet. Pouring all of your unprocessed psyche onto them and all of your energetic shitstorm and wrapping it in a bow and being like, aren't you so grateful that I'm being vulnerable with you? Ick. Okay. If your emotional expression is coming with an expectation to be loved, no matter how like messy and irresponsible and sort of like, you know, you're not taking ownership. You're just like, love me, mommy, love me, mommy. Again, like your partner probably wants to be your lover, not your mother, right? And that doesn't mean that your partner won't nurture you. And there is like a more advanced level of this that I've definitely experienced where a woman who is in her power, but also very open in her heart space and very attuned to the environment can, like I said with my spiritual teacher, it happens, I notice it with him happening with me because he is such a strong presence, but he's so open-hearted. Like a woman in that energetic can actually help a man regulate without even having to talk. Like he might start to his energetic will start to attune with yours. It's possible, but you guys, that's more advanced. So you need to get to the basics. Don't try to run before you walk. Deep intimacy is many, many layers. Um, but again, what's the key here? Accountability. If you're craving real love, but you keep getting pushed away, like I said, start by dealing with your own nervous system. When you do that, you are going to naturally attract women who are in that like more empowered, but also open-hearted energy. Um, yeah, those are the 4 points that I really wanted to make here. Like I said, a lot of you guys are on the right track, but because you're too emotionally dependent on another woman to figure this out, and that's because men are not taught how to do this. So I am not blaming anyone. Men don't have role modeling for this. So what happens is that men come to women both to date unconsciously and also to women like myself because you guys are trying to figure it out. You don't know what to do. And a lot of women don't know what to do either. And a lot of women have just fallen into that controller and sort of dysfunctional mother role and are also very tired and resentful. And it's creating a lot of troubles with intimacy with couples. And that's what I see over and over and over again. And it's simply because people are unconsciously self abandoning on both sides. And when I help people, it's through a spiritual practice because that is your practice, your self care, your somatic process, your time to be with you and to start to change your projections because your projections, what's coming from your mind and from inside of you, is what's creating your relationships, which is why right now your connection might be dysfunctional, but 2 months from now, it could be drastically different with the same exact person. And not because they changed, because you did. That's what I help you do. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to give you the door. I'm going to crack it back open to the underground, okay? To my new spiritual community membership. This is where we do the work, you guys. Look at the testimonials on the page, on the sales page. People did the 30-day challenge and experienced dramatic changes 10 minutes a day in only 30 days. Imagine 60 days. Imagine 90 days. I've been at this for over a decade. Miracles are possible. You have no idea. So I will crack the door open. I will let you get in. I will let you apply. It's only 5 questions, I think, on the application. I'll let you slide in before the second, but you got to move your butt. So contact me in the show notes. My email is there, info@AllisonLassard.com. I'm serious. I would love to have you as a founding member, even if you missed the application process. I love you enough, but get your ass in here. Otherwise, I am sending you guys so much love. That's it for today. Um, subscribe to the channel, follow the podcast, come back next week. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next one.